What if I told you that one of Elvis Presley's most haunting secrets, something so raw and personal it was never meant to see the light of day, was discovered not by a friend, not by family, but by someone working quietly in the background of his lavish life? His maid? Buried in a trash can beneath room service trays and crumpled hotel linens, she stumbled upon something that would send chills through even the most devoted Elvis fans. What she found could unravel decades of carefully guarded myths and force us to ask, how well did we really know the king of rock and roll? By late 1976, the glittering lights of Las Vegas that once energized Elvis Presley had begun to lose their luster. The king was no longer the unshakable icon he had once been. He was exhausted, both physically and emotionally, worn down by relentless performances and a growing sense of isolation. The demands of fame had hollowed out the joy that once fueled his music, leaving him withdrawn and increasingly reclusive behind the stage curtain. While fans saw the rhinestone jumpsuits and dazzling charisma under the spotlight, behind closed doors, Elvis was fighting a silent war within himself. Adding to the pressure, his trusted inner circle, the tight-knit group he had leaned on for years, was falling apart. Red West and Sonny West, two of his closest confidants, had been dismissed, their exits sparking bitterness and betrayal. Their explosive tell-all book, Elvis, What Happened?, loomed like a thundercloud over his legacy. Linda Thompson, the woman who had been by his side through much of his emotional turbulence, was gone too. Without their familiar presence, the people who once buffered him from the world were vanishing one by one, leaving Elvis more vulnerable than ever before. Amid this emotional freefall, a new chapter quietly began as Ginger Alden stepped into his life. It was during this time, his final string of shows in Las Vegas, that something extraordinary happened. Something whispered to have been scrawled in the stillness of a hotel suite, perhaps late at night when the show was over and the cheering had faded into silence. Something so personal, so intimate, that it was never intended to leave the room. But fate had other plans. In the quiet aftermath of another long night in Elvis's Las Vegas suite, a hotel maid went about her routine like any other day, straightening pillows, emptying ashtrays, clearing away the remnants of late-night meals. She wasn't a gossip hound or a fan looking for souvenirs. She was simply doing her job. But tucked deep in the wastebasket, among used tissues and torn bits of room service receipts, something caught her eye. 4 crumpled sheets of paper, scribbled with handwriting that felt too deliberate to ignore. Curious but cautious, she unfolded them one by one. What she saw wasn't a grocery list or random doodles. It was something far more personal. The tone of the words leapt off the page, heavy with emotion, raw and unfiltered. The ink bled slightly into the paper, like thoughts poured out in haste or desperation. This wasn't a set list or a memo from management. It felt sacred. And though she had no idea just how explosive her find was at the time, something in her gut told her that she had stumbled upon a window into a side of Elvis Presley the world had never seen. What exactly did those pages contain? What could have been so private, so soul-bearing, that it ended up in a trash can, discarded but never truly erased? The handwriting alone was enough to raise eyebrows, but the real shock was in the message itself. Was it a confession, a cry for help, or something even more unimaginable? Whatever it was, the discovery would ignite a decades-long debate, with fans, experts, and friends all asking the same haunting question. What was Elvis really trying to say when no one was supposed to be listening? The words scribbled across those crumpled pages were like whispers from a troubled soul, fragile, fleeting, and never meant to be heard. Scrawled hastily on Hilton hotel notepads, they carried the weight of a man unraveling beneath the glittering surface of fame. Phrases like, "I feel so alone," "I probably won't rest tonight," and "Help me, Lord," weren't just statements. They were quiet screams, etched in ink with a sense of urgency that suggested these weren't lyrics or rehearsed lines. These were thoughts escaping in real time, in the privacy of a room where the noise of the world could finally be silenced. The tone was unmistakably raw, stripped of the performance, the charm, the carefully constructed image. There was no filter here, no persona. Just a man grappling with insomnia, isolation, and perhaps a gnawing sense that everything was slipping through his fingers. The sentences came in fragments, emotionally disjointed but piercingly honest, like someone trying to hold on to sanity by putting pen to paper before the thoughts became too heavy to carry. What's perhaps most chilling is how unguarded it all felt. These weren't letters sealed away in a drawer or tucked into a Bible for safekeeping. They were thrown out, tossed in a trash can as if they were nothing more than passing reflections. But to anyone who reads them now, they feel like a fragile confession caught in a moment of desperation. Was this the voice of a man trying to reach out? Or was it just the sound of someone finally being honest when no one else was around? The answers remain elusive, but the weight of those words is undeniable. In a twist that added even more intrigue to the mystery, legendary entertainer Wayne Newton entered the picture in 1991, nearly 15 years after Elvis's passing. It was then that one of the handwritten notes quietly resurfaced at a Sotheby's auction. The bidding was fierce, but it was Newton who ultimately secured the note for over $13,000, a price that hinted at just how significant the contents were believed to be. For Newton, this wasn't just memorabilia. It was a deeply personal fragment of a friend he had known in ways few others had. Newton would go on to publicly assert the note's authenticity, citing not only the handwriting but also the emotional weight behind the words. He claimed the sentiments matched perfectly with the man he had once shared quiet, backstage moments with. To him, this wasn't the voice of a mythic rock icon. It was Elvis the man, conflicted, weary, and yearning for peace. Inspired and moved, Newton took the raw emotion of the note and transformed it into music, crafting a song that attempted to channel what he believed were Elvis's final thoughts. The lyrics, while adapted, carried the echo of that same loneliness and spiritual desperation. Their friendship wasn't the stuff of press releases. It was personal, often unfolding behind dressing room doors, where fame faded and real feelings came out. Newton has recounted late-night conversations where Elvis opened up about his daughter, his fears, and the painful sense that his time in the spotlight was nearing its end. So when Newton read that note, he recognized the voice behind the ink. Whether or not the world believed in its origin, he believed in the pain it carried, because he had seen that pain in Elvis's eyes, long before it was ever written down. But not everyone was convinced that the notes were genuine. As whispers of their existence spread, experts in the field of handwriting analysis and seasoned autograph collectors began raising skeptical eyebrows. To them, something didn't quite add up. The strokes, the slant, the spacing, while emotional and expressive, didn't perfectly align with the Elvis they had studied for years. These were professionals trained to spot inconsistencies the average eye would miss, and some claimed that certain features of the writing felt off, like a well-intended imitation, rather than the real hand of the king. One major point of contention centered on the style of the writing itself. Fans and experts alike noted that Elvis, especially during the later years of his life, typically wrote in a bold, distinctive, all-caps block lettering style. Yet these mysterious notes bore a more cursive, flowing script, vulnerable and almost hesitant in its form. Was this simply a rare instance of Elvis writing from a more emotional, spontaneous place? Or was it a sign that someone else may have penned the words, hoping to mimic the voice of a tortured legend? Fueling the controversy further, an article published in an Autograph Authenticity magazine during the 1990s flat out labeled the notes as fraudulent. The publication claimed to have compelling reasons to doubt their origin, based on a detailed forensic comparison of known Elvis writings. Yet strangely, this issue has become incredibly difficult to track down today, almost as if it quietly disappeared from circulation. Whether that's due to time, suppression, or coincidence is anyone's guess. But one thing's for sure. In the world of Elvis lore, the truth is often just as elusive as the man himself. If Elvis truly did write those words, words that carried the weight of loneliness, spiritual desperation, and quiet surrender, then we are looking at far more than just a discarded note. We're peering into the fractured soul of a man who once seemed larger than life. What kind of pain must he have been carrying to write something so intimate, only to toss it aside like yesterday's news? Could it be that beneath the rhinestones and roaring crowds, Elvis Presley felt more forgotten than adored, more empty than fulfilled? That possibility opens the door to something far more unsettling. For years, fans have clung to a sanitized image of Elvis, confident, magnetic, untouchable. But these words, if authentic, shatter that illusion. They show us someone vulnerable, someone human. Could this note be the final, unfiltered glimpse into the heart of a man who gave the world everything and quietly asked for nothing in return? A last confession scribbled in the silence of a Vegas suite, meant for no one but God and himself? Or is this just another chapter in the long line of Elvis mysteries, an elaborate legend shaped by wishful thinking, blurred memories, and the aching desire to feel close to him once more? The truth may be lost to time, but one thing is undeniable. The emotional pull of these words refuses to let go. Whether fact or fable, they stir something in us. Because deep down, we all want to believe we've heard Elvis speak one last time, even if it's just through the fragile whisper of a forgotten page. So now it's your turn. What do you believe? Do you think the letters were truly written by Elvis himself? Or are they just another cleverly crafted piece of myth-making? Have you seen other clues, documents, or stories that support one side over the other? Let me know in the comments, are you on Team Truth or Team Hoax? This mystery may never be fully solved unless someone with the right piece of the puzzle finally steps forward. And until that day comes, the debate lives on. So if you're just as fascinated by the hidden chapters of Elvis's life as we are, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more deep dives into the legends we thought we knew, and share your take below, because your voice could be what keeps the story alive.